Hi, everybody. Can you believe it's only Wednesday? It seems like it's been the new administration forever. But wow, this live stream sure came together. Mwah, it's beautiful. We have so much great stuff to discuss. Thank you for those of you who gifted membership, 80s model. I saw that Sahib did a little bit earlier, and thanks for joining. Hi. So we got a lot of great stuff to discuss. But also, first up, I forgot, thank you again, 80s model. Let me just point out that tomorrow is a very, very, very big day. What's happening? It's the Oscar nominations. Woo, woo. All right, so it's tomorrow, as you can see. The Oscar nominations will be tomorrow at 8:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time at the crack of dawn. 5:30 a.m. Pacific. Why do they do it so early? They want to make the morning shows. So, like the Today Show, Good Morning America, stuff like that. So it's going to be happening right away. I will be doing a live stream afterwards. I have to put my thoughts together. I have to put my graphics together. So you should expect that live stream to be between 11 a.m. and noon. Thank you, Emilio. Hey, Jake. Put that tentatively in your calendar. If you are subscribed to be on the trailer and you turn on notifications, you will always get a half-hour heads up for when the live stream will be. I always make sure that I make that notification time. And so it's going to be around that period, 11 a.m. to noon Eastern Standard Time. But if you, if you're subscribed, hit that subscribe button. It's a great reason to. And hit notifications, and you'll always get 30-minute heads up as to when I'm going to go live. And so tomorrow I'll be doing a live breakdown of these nominations. Okay. But today we have even cooler stuff to discuss. It's been so slow the first half of January. I looked back, and it wasn't last January, but the January before was such a banger. Okay, because I was like, was it always this slow? And I look back, and like in January 2023, we had Avatar still making tons of money, James Gunn putting his new DC together with a machete as he destroyed the Snyderverse, and then also The Last of Us was airing. The Last of Us Season 2. It was incredible. I'm not talking about last January. I'm talking about the January before that. That was amazing. But yeah, that's right. The Super Bowl's coming up. It's starting to get a little bit better. And as you can see, we have excellent stories to discuss. Of course, obviously, the LA fires, I think not only did they not have very much stuff planned for January, but the LA fires were tragic and just completely slowed down the news cycle. In fact, ground it to a halt, as it should, because that was a very serious situation. But the news is starting to come back, baby. So we're going to talk about it. Yeah, that's right. The Last of Us Season 2 comes out this year in April. I'm working my way through the cutscenes. I must say, at first, I thought they were kind of boring. And I was like, I don't know what they're going to do with this. And then once they started to go on the missions, like the actual missions, I'm talking snowball fights and stuff. I was like, are you kidding me with this? But now it's getting good. It's getting very good. All right. So we're going to have a good time going with that. All right. So story number 1. As always, please keep your questions and comments to the story at hand. I'll do a Q&A at the end of each section about that specific story. And then at the very end of the stream, as always, there's a 10-minute Ask Me Anything. All right. So story number 1. Boop. So a lot of people were breaking into the stream yesterday being like, Grace, you got to talk about this Ryan Gosling Star Wars story. And I was like, dude, I need something to talk about tomorrow. And here we are. All right, so Ryan Gosling, let's bring up the chapter times. We got a lot to discuss. So what Star Wars movie is this? There's just so many of them in development hell. This one is the one directed by Sean Levy, the one that we even all forgot about. I forgot he was making a Star Wars movie. He's been developing it for a while, and he just couldn't get it to click. And it seems that Ryan Gosling might be the one to click. You guys like the I'm Just Kenobi? A friend of mine I haven't seen that anywhere, but a friend of mine said it was going around. And I was like, that's interesting. So Sean Levy, all right? Now, Ryan Gosling. Now, yes, I'm Just Kenobi can he bring his Barbie magic to Star Wars? Does he have any Barbie magic? I'm not so sure, as we're going to discuss. As Miko remembers, he used to be Mr. 11 Million because his movies all opened at 11 million. That seems to have changed a little bit. First, he had La La Land, where his character was treated so poorly it made me hate the movie. I was like, if he hadn't answered that call for your audition to come back to Hollywood, you'd never have a career. Can't you at least get him a composing gig or like a score gig for Pete's sake? So yeah, and then of course there was Barbie. And, they're already trying to maybe tap into the Barbie mania. I don't know. If I were Margot Robbie, I'd be like, please stop trying to milk Barbie because you're going to milk it into the ground. I mean, I'm nervous. People really ended up turning on Barbie, and I don't need more reasons to turn on Barbie. But the rumor is that this is such a hot package, according to the powers that be over at Disney and Lucasfilm, is that they're going to put it to the front of the line. Mandalorian and Grogu, as you can see, is already set for Memorial Day weekend. Thank you, Sean. That's very generous of you. May 22nd, 2026. So that's the next Star Wars movie. I think they've already actually finished filming, that's definitely coming up next. It's definitely coming out. But then this would be the next movie because, there's a lot of movies that they're supposed to be making. There's the Dave Filoni movie. There's the James Mangold movie that doesn't want to be weighed down by Star Wars mythology. And you're like, dude, then what are you doing over here? And there's that supposed Rey movie that just seems to be cursed. All right, so this would be the front of the line. They'd be like, we got to make this movie, especially because it's apparently planned as a standalone film. Yeah, nothing in Hollywood's ever truly a standalone movie. Do you guys think this is, what if it is Rogue Squadron? Wouldn't that be embarrassing for Patty Jenkins? If they were like, Sean Levy's Rogue Squadron, and she'd be like, Ryan Gosling would make a pretty good pilot. and that was a very good idea based on a very popular video game. Why should it die with Patty Jenkins' career? Let it go, Patty. Pass it to Sean Levy. I still think it's a good idea because, I have to tell you, when I watch Star Wars movies, that hadn't even occurred to me. When I watch Star Wars movies, the flight sequences are often my favorite. I think the aerial battles in space are phenomenal. That's my favorite part of Rogue One. Like the half an hour aerial battle at the end of the movie. That was just amazing. Aiden, I don't know if you're ever going to get married, Jade, especially after how they handled Luke. I think that would be very difficult to do for you at this point. So here's my question. They seem to not be willing to give up on this idea that they can make women like Star Wars. Because I have to tell you, I don't really think that men like Ryan Gosling. I think they think he's okay. I don't think they have anything against him, but I don't think he can sell a ticket to a dude. Certainly not a straight dude. I think that they don't have anything against him. I don't think he'd keep them from seeing a movie, but I don't think he's a motivation to go and see a film. Women really like Ryan Gosling, which is why it was so brilliant to cast him as Ken. Haunted Autumn loves the Goss. Well, I'm glad your numbers are small because he doesn't make any money at the box office, which we're about to discuss. But I think he certainly has a certain vibe. And I think it's very interesting, when they were covering this yesterday, one of the trades brought up the point, you guys can say that this is so frustrating. You guys are like, men love Ryan Gosling. What, from afar? You don't buy any tickets to his movies? This guy has struggled at the box office. He killed Blade Runner. And you guys are like, it's like saying you love DC movies and you don't go. It's very frustrating. Okay. All right, that's right. What about Glenn Powell, Jesse? There can only be one. That's very funny. There can only be one. They have a very similar vibe, actually. That's hilarious. All right, so anyway, I thought it was interesting that there was a rumor back then that Zac Efron and Ryan Gosling were on the shortlist for Kylo Ren alongside Adam Driver. And that's very interesting to me because all three of those guys have a similar vibe. And they're also all very appealing to women. And I must say, Kylo Ren ended up being very appealing to women. Women really, I shipped Kylo Ren and Rey. Even though their relationship was wrong, I didn't care. I loved it. I was like, I sensed the chemistry between you two. Although I think one of Adam Driver's best qualities is that he has chemistry with anybody. He's also very funny, very similarly to Ryan Gosling. Ryan Gosling is also very funny. But that's true, Nacho Flores. Ain't nobody wants to pay to see Adam Driver either. You know, Adam Driver and Ryan Gosling, hilarious on SNL. They do a great job on SNL. That's funny, Jamie. Wouldn't it be funny if Ryan Gosling was playing a bad guy? I think we're all assuming that he's going to be a hero. But what if he was a bad guy in the movie? That would be it. I mean, I don't know if anybody would pay to see it, but I would enjoy it. So we'll see. I mean, again, there's always the two ways you have to approach a pitch. Would you enjoy it? Or do you think a lot of people would enjoy it? That's funny, Obed. Adam Driver did give Beefcake in Star Wars infamously, because I think everybody was like, that's definitely a slab of beef, all right, but something seems to be wrong with it. Poor Adam Driver. That costume did not do him any favors with the way it cut him off. Everybody was just like, what's happening? Nobody takes their shirt off in Star Wars. And then, although that trend would continue onto the Acolyte. Yes. So Barbie versus the complete resume. So I'm going to disappear for a second. Disappear. I missed the Norway ride at Disney World. But yes, just take a moment. As many of you have already brought up, there's a little movie called Fall Guy. Fall Guy was Ryan Gosling's Barbie follow-up movie, and they felt that it was going to be a huge hit. And the trailers were very well received. Remember, when Deadpool and Wolverine couldn't make its beginning of May release date, which was going to, which kicks off the summer movie season, and Deadpool and Wolverine had to move to the end of July to Comic-Con weekend, which ended up being a new release date was born. The Fall Guy, Universal said, oh my God, we have Ken from the Barbie movie. And they ran over and they took that date. That thing fell flat on its face. Thank you, Aaron. That thing fell flat on its face. It was just a total disaster. Some people even claimed that they I didn't like the movie, but other people said that they did, but they didn't go see it. I mean, this thing just tanked. I'm just Ken. I just tanked at the box office. It was a disaster. So, I'd be very nervous. I mean, I don't know how Greta Gerwig did it, but it's just a big problem. Because also, let's look at Ryan Gosling's other box office roles. Here we go. Let me get the arrow so you can see it. I'll be back in a minute. I'm still here. Hello, I'm over here. All right, I want you to be able to read this, though. All right, so The Fall Guy, look, it only opened with $27.7 million for the first weekend in May. That's so horrible. Studio executive just got fired. I don't know if they did, but that's horrible. Couldn't even get to 100 million domestic. Oh, God. Couldn't even get to 200 million worldwide. It's just, oh, my God. All right, so Barbie obviously made $1.4 billion, and he was brilliant in that. Then, First Man, look, he's awfully close to 11. He's the $11 million man. What a name. I mean, $11 million man. That only got to 105 worldwide. Blade Runner, that opened a little bit bigger, but it tanked. Also couldn't get to 100 million. Only got to 258. Denis Villeneuve's career almost died with this, but luckily he got Dune. So just an absolute disaster, okay? Blade Runner. He killed Blade Runner. I'd be like, do you want him to kill Star Wars? They're like, it's already dead. We're not worried about it. All right, La La Land, huge hit, but I don't think it's because of Ryan Gosling. Also, that's a very female-centric, and he works very well with Emma Stone. Nice Guys, people, look, see, 11 million, 10 million right here, 11 million here. All these numbers are all very close. That's why we were calling him the $11 million man. Mika, thank you again for remembering. Nice Guys. Today everybody says, oh, I love The Nice Guys. What a great movie. Well, you didn't pay to see it. It made 59 million worldwide. Worldwide! The Big Short did pretty well, but that also had Christian Bale and Steve Carell in it. Margot Robbie, interestingly enough, had a cameo in that movie, but it's still only 132 worldwide. And then these movies are just a disaster. Just an absolute disaster. Crazy Stupid Love did pretty well, but again, that was Steve Carell at the height of his career. There are a couple other movies here. We got Blue Bound. Oh my God, this is when he was just starting. He hasn't actually made that many movies. The Notebook, obviously. And then he did something else. Where is that? He wasn't the star. He was in a movie, Murder by Numbers, I think, with Sandra Bullock, and they had a showmance. So I mean, these numbers. Oh yeah, Drive was a good movie, but nobody went to see it. So I'm not saying he's going to make a bad Star Wars movie. My question is anyone going to pay to watch it? That's my concern. And even if he appeals to women, for some reason, thank you, Bubbles, you just can't get women to watch Star Wars. It's very difficult. I mean, you can get some women to watch it, but not enough to get, to get a blockbuster off the ground. So, I mean, especially at the place that Star Wars is today. So it just makes me very nervous. You know what? If I was talking to Sean Levy, I guess he's not available because he's going to do the Avengers movie. And of course, we'll be talking about that next. But what about Mr. Chris Evans? Chris Evans is a huge Star Wars fan. Brie Larson was really campaigning hard for a Star Wars movie right after Captain Marvel released. And it was like, you just got Captain Marvel, Brie. Why are you trying to jump over to Star Wars? Cement your legacy over here in Marvel. But Chris Evans has long said that he would love to do a Star Wars movie. That's right, his box office is worse, Mika. But I don't know. I think at least, I don't know. That's true. His box office is, I mean, I don't know who has good box office these days besides DiCaprio and stuff like that. But I don't know. I don't know. I'm very nervous about this. I don't think it's a great idea. So, does anybody have questions or comments about this story before we move on to the next story of the day? Tyler would like an unknown. That's risky, Tyler. That's risky. Although it worked very well for the original Star Wars, obviously. Sherm says, I think Gosling is a non-factor. Fall Guy failed because it's not a strong IP. As long as the concept of the film appeals to the fan base, it'll be fine. I hope that would be nice. Chris Pratt, Nacho Flores? I gotta say, that's a pretty good idea. People love to hate on Chris Pratt on social media, but his box office track record is strong. Maybe I would call him up. But can't I get somebody who wasn't in a Marvel movie? Who's left? It's 80s model saying with Deadpool and Wolverine and Free Guy, oh, it's definitely going to be a comedy. This is definitely going to be a Star Wars comedy. Although I think Star Wars is good when it's funny. Timmy Seawan. I like that idea, actually. I like Timmy C. He's so charming. He's on Saturday Night Live this week, and he had such a funny promo where he hired his lookalikes, who look nothing like him, to fill in and help him out with all the stuff he has to do this week. And it was really charming. Cooper Koch. Yeah, that's right. Let's get the new generation in here, man. That's right. I call up Ryan Murphy, and I'd say, what hot guy do you got for me, Ryan Murphy? I know you got a lot of them over there. That's what I would do. There's a lot of good choices. No, I hate Jacob Elordi, Juan Gabriel. I don't know why nobody likes Jacob Elordi. But yeah, Cooper Koch. I'm kind of over Austin Butler too, but I like Timmy C. There's a lot of good choices here. Jack Quaid. I don't know about Jack Quaid. I mean, I am making a Star Wars movie here. It has to have. No, Tom Holland's already in the Odyssey. So there's some people. I mean, I would just make a freaking effort. Sam Reed. I don't know. I wouldn't put Sam Reed in a lead just yet because he's not a big enough star. Same, I'm sorry to say, with Anthony Starr, but I'd give him one heck of a supporting role. I'd be like, you stand next to my lead actor and you smolder. That's right. I need my Luke Skywalker, but I can have a little bit of leeway with my Han Solo. Boop, 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 boop. So let's see. Well, we'll see who they go with. Now you guys are just casting the movie. You don't have any questions about it. Okay. All right. Okay. All right. Oh, Lisa McDougall says, what about Zendaya? She's pretty busy. I don't know if Zendaya wants to do any more franchise work because she's already in Spider-Man. And I think, although I don't want her to play any more love interests. I think she should graduate to having her own movies. I mean, she's done a wonderful, Mike Faced. I like that, Miles. I love me some Mike Faced. What isn't anybody else? Josh O'Connor's getting all the love. I wonder if he'll be, I've picked him for James Bond, and now everybody thinks he's going to be James Bond. And I'm like, I said it first! It was me! After he played Prince Charles. Sean, I'm doing okay in January. Sean was very generous, so that's why I'm answering his question, even though it's not anything to do with what we're talking about. I'm okay. I got the flu last week, so it's been interesting. That's right. Now he's King Charles. Did I miss a super chat here? Let me go back and see. Jas says, do you think this will ever be made? I do think it will be made. Well, let's see if he actually signs. Maybe he went online and saw everybody's comments. I mean, some people seem excited. Let me ask you. I mean, I think you guys are just saying you're excited and you're not going to actually pay to see it. Are you excited about a Ryan Gosling Star Wars movie? Heck yeah. No, we'll just do OMG. And then we'll do could be good. And then we'll do meh. And then we'll do I'm taking a Star Wars break. Oh, well, this movie's going to come out, what, 2027, 2028? Just in time for you to emerge from your break. By the way, anyone who's watching can vote in the poll. You don't have to be a member to vote in the poll. We'll just give that a moment. I'll try and see if I can answer some more questions. MM92 says, do you think Star Wars can ever reach its glory day heights again in this world of social media craziness? I do. I have to tell you, based on some of my interactions with the industry, I think that they willfully ignore the online space. And they have very little idea of what's actually happening here, which I find very surprising. You'd be like, dude, that's what's killing your movies or helping them. And so I think that they should, love it or hate it, that's who your audience is. And I think that I'm not saying you have to give in, but I think you should be aware of what's being said about your product, positive and negative, so that you can navigate the situation better. Angela, that's nothing to do with what we're discussing, but I love Angela and her brother. I have not heard anything about Captain America. All right, let me close the poll. You guys are really ready for the next story. Okay, hold on. All right, so could be 41% of you think it could be good. 34% of you think meh. Only 17% of you are on a Star Wars break, but only 7% of you are super, super excited about it. That's kind of where I think it would be. That makes sense to me. Jarrell says, new Star Wars has yet to cast a cool new male Jedi. If they make Ryan another Luke we deserved, the fans will show up. Oh, what if he was playing Freddie Prinze Jr.'s character before he got killed in Star Wars Rebels? What was that guy's name again? I forgot it. He was great. And they brought back Ezra Bridger. Oh, Kanan, thank you. They brought back Ezra Bridger, and he doesn't do anything. I hope that he does more in Ahsoka Season 2 and stuff. Because the two of them together, Kanan and Ezra, were incredible. If you haven't watched Rebels by now, that's not on me. But yeah, I would love to see Star Wars Jedi at that level. Not only as likable as they are, but they had the best lightsaber battle sequences I've ever seen. Yeah, that's funny. Daniel R., side note, funny Star Wars Rebels stories. I was in Disneyland Paris just this past Christmas, but I was there a couple of years ago. And when I was there, they have this place in their Tomorrowland where they play like television if they don't have a stage show. And they were playing Star Wars Rebels. And I was like, that animation looks awful. And I never dreamed that years later I would watch the show and love it and that it would be the savior of Star Wars to a degree. Yes, Nacho Flores. Sebastian Stan, I don't know if he'd do it right now because his career is pretty strong, artistically. But I think that Sebastian Stan is a young Luke Skywalker. Forget this. You don't need to CGI him. You don't need to CGI young Luke Skywalker. Sebastian Stan standing right there. I think that would be really great. I would love to have and then Mark Hamill could still be there because it's like flashbacks maybe. I think that's a good idea. I'd greenlight that movie. Okay, let's move on to the second story of the day. All right, story number 2. Here it comes. Boop. All right. Doctor Strange. All right, so we got a little bit of Doctor Strange tea today. Where did it come from? Variety. But that's because they were doing an interview with Benedict Cumberbatch. And so Benedict Cumberbatch, or as I like to call him, Benny C, he hasn't been working very much lately. You know, it's interesting. They said, oh, Benedict Cumberbatch uses his blockbuster Marvel muscle to get projects made, like Eric on Netflix. And I'm like, Eric was awful and pretty much unwatchable towards the end. So I don't think that was a good use of his capital. But yeah, so the reason that he was talking about Doctor Strange in this article was because I think the journalist who was interviewing him was like, I'd like people to read this article. So let's talk about stuff that people care about. Let's talk about Doctor Strange. Let's talk about Sherlock. I mean, obviously he has a movie at Sundance, which is why he's doing the interview. But they're like, ain't nobody want to hear about that, Benny? Let's talk about your greatest hits. And Benny C came to spill the tea. He said, F it! And he talked about his upcoming plans for Doctor Strange. So he said, I'm not going to be a Doomsday. And we were like, what? But that only seemed to confirm that Wanda would be front and center. Oh man, I hope, they don't cheesecake up Wanda. I mean, I was just talking about, Wanda doesn't need to be that cheesecake. She's already a stunner that men and women love. So I don't like this pose. I'd be like, where's your hand, Doom? I mean, if Robert Downey Jr. does this to Elizabeth Olsen, I'll just fall over. Okay? I'm like, dude, after considering what your character did to Wanda, I would be, I mean, if it was a different actor and a different character, but a variant of Tony Stark, I mean, he's technically responsible for killing her parents. He then locked her up against her will in Civil War. I mean, it's bad. So they just can't do it. I mean, it's like, why do you put me in that position? I hope they don't put me in that position, because then I'll have to say something, and then it's going to just be like annoying. All right. So anyway, though, I think, the rumors and the idea that she would be a big part of Doomsday just seems to become a little bit more likely, especially if Doctor Strange is not in the movie at all. He said, I'm not in it. I'm taking a little bit more of a break. I don't know where Clea is. I saw one of you ask where Clea is. He said he's making a third Doctor Strange movie someday. Someday he'll make a third Doctor Strange movie, and I guess he and Clea will do something, but we'll see. But it's taken a long time. But he did say that he has a very big role in Secret Wars, which is very interesting to me. Now, that just lends credence to the rumor that they're going to do the Jonathan Hickman version of Secret Wars. The first version of Secret Wars is just like a battle royale on this foreign planet, this alien planet, and everybody just fights. Okay? It's more like a video game than it is like an intense story. But Hickman put together an alternate reality where there were many things going on, including that Doctor Strange was Sheriff Strange, and he worked for Doctor Doom. So I'm like, how do you not show up in Doomsday? Like, how is that not something that's going on in Doomsday? What would Doomsday possibly be about? Like, is Doom going to lose his temper and create Secret Wars alternate reality for just that one movie? I would think that reality would be a 2-movie reality. So I don't understand how Doctor Strange can only be one of them. We'll see. So not only does he work for Doctor Strange as his enforcer, he's his top law person, but he also works with the Thor Corps, who of course are under his jurisdiction. He's in charge, he gives them their orders, which is an army of Thors, and Thor-related type of characters like Storm. So you'll probably be, so I'm not sure at what capacity you're going to be seeing Doctor Strange in Secret Wars, but it's a very good chance you'll be seeing him in this capacity. But what's going to happen here? The big question also is, where's my arrow? Will we see a rematch of Wanda versus Strange? Will Wanda be fighting Doctor Doom? And because, I'll be curious to see, Kevin Feige is very famous and to some infamous as time goes on with the MCU for taking just the essence of these stories and changing them significantly. Like, think about how different Civil War ended up being. And then in a worse way, Secret Invasion. I've never seen anybody mess something up as badly as they messed up Secret Invasion. One of the greatest stories in Marvel of all time. It's the whole reason the first Captain Marvel movie made $1 billion, besides being between the 2 Avengers movies, but so was Ant-Man and Wasp too. But that's because everybody felt it was going to kick off Secret Invasion, which is just such an incredible story. I hope that maybe someday we get it the way we're supposed to. But I hope it doesn't I hope Secret Invasion doesn't turn into the Phoenix Saga, which, is just at this point, I don't think anybody cares anymore. And it's never been done well. They've done it like 3 times, I think, or something, certainly twice. And, they turned Wanda. Kevin Feige turned Scarlet Witch into his Phoenix. And so I guess that's why, to some degree, it's like the third time. But I would be interested. I don't think that their battles were very good in Multiverse of Madness. By the way, where's my magic movie? Where's Loki in all of this? I think there are a lot of great magic users. I think we'd like to see Dr. Voodoo get in here. I just think, I don't think that Wanda fighting Doctor Strange was really, I don't think the multiverse was a good use of that crossover. Yeah, Wiccan, that's right, Mystic. And the battles were short, and they didn't involve that much magic. Although I must say, Wanda looked incredible in that movie. The way she used her powers, it was beautiful. Oh, she was so powerful. I loved watching it. So maybe with the Russo brothers doing what they're supposed to, I don't think Sam Raimi's, he did the Spider-Man movies, but he's not a big action. The Russo brothers, even though they have not directed a good movie outside of Marvel, they do know how to deliver action sequences, a number of them. They know what the fans want to see. So I hope that is very much what happens. All right, does anybody have any questions or comments about this story? The Chosen Loner says, I'm just ready for a new Avengers movie. I really hope these work out. Me too. I do suspect that Avengers Doomsday will be old Avengers versus new Avengers. That's how it seems to be shaping up. There's no official confirmation except for Robert Downey Jr., but I wouldn't be surprised if at Comic-Con this year, Chris Evans and Scarlett Johansson walk out. And I think, I don't know how people are going to feel about that. I don't know if it seems desperate or cool. I think it's, I think we'd have to see it. Lewis says, Robert Downey Jr. is not playing Tony Stark, he is Doom. But he's clearly a variant of Tony Stark. He has the same face. I don't understand how some of you guys insist that it's not the same. I mean, when they look at him, I guess he'll have a mask on maybe. But why would you cast him again unless the mask wasn't at some point going to come off and like Peter Parker and all the Avengers who knew him are like, oh my God. Why bring back Chris Evans? Why bring back potentially Scarlett Johansson if that's not what you're doing? It just defies logic, and I don't know why you guys keep insisting on it. Brandon says, after Waldron messed up Wanda's arc, my heart can't take Wanda being a villain again. Yeah, I wish they would let Jack Schaefer do a pass on the writing. I'd be like, Jack, I have a script for you. Would you please take a look at it? Thank you, Sean, for backing me up on this. And I agree with Ben 10 that Robert Downey Jr. should have played Superior Iron Man, although I was in love with the idea of Tom Cruise doing it. I liked the idea of bringing in the actors who had almost been cast in these roles. Like Alexander Skarsgård was almost Thor. That would be an incredible why didn't they do that for Multiverse? It would have been so amazing. All right, Nacho Flores says, would that be a Wanda variant too? The Doom storyline was after No More Mutants. Maybe in that world Wanda and the X-Men exist? I'm not sure what they're going to do, I haven't heard anything, and I certainly wouldn't want to spoil it. It could be a Wanda variant. Wanda's attorney, who of course would be an expert on this, says, is it possible Doctor Strange 3 is an adaptation of the Time Runs Out story that could release between the Avengers films to explain his absence? No way. They will not have I appreciate your enthusiasm and your creativity there, Wanda's attorney, but Doctor Strange 3 is not even, it's just like a little flicker in Benedict Cumberbatch's eye. They haven't attached any director. They haven't attached a writer. They have no concept yet. They just have agreed that they're going to make it at some point. Lewis, they did confirm that Robert Downey Jr. is Victor Von Doom, but I'm telling you, Victor Von Doom is a variant of Tony Stark. He's not named Tony Stark. He doesn't probably even think he's Tony Stark. But he looks and sounds like Tony Stark. Adam DeSabatos is curious how Spider-Man fits in since Doomsday with his film being after Doomsday. I'm excited to see how they piece it all together. They got a lot of moving pieces here. Jamie said he did the peace sign. It's Tony. Good spot. Good argument, Jamie. I appreciate that. Hey, Georgie Porgy. What a great name. And Sahib says it's possible that Doom could capture Strange and then the other Avengers have to rescue him. How do you not do Sheriff Strange, though? That would be so weird. Maybe, but Dr. Doom is supposed to fight Mr. Fantastic. Dr. Doom doesn't really fight Doctor Strange. I mean, I'm sure there's a comic where he did. But I'd be like, it would be so weird to see him fighting Doctor Strange. You'd be like, why are you fighting Mr. Fantastic, your arch nemesis? That's so weird. I agree. I'd be very scared about any Wanda storylines that Jack Schaefer wasn't at least involved in, in an advisory capacity. The Chosen Loner says, what about Monica being with the X-Men? Will they include that in Secret Wars, or that won't get addressed? It might never be addressed again. I mean, I don't know where Harry Styles is. Do you? Remember, he joined the MCU and then flew back to space. There's a lot of people in space who, for some reason, don't get reception out there to come back to Earth. You know, that's a good point that's been brought up. Once you have these larger stories, anytime there's a big problem, you're like, that seems really like a big problem. Why don't the heavy hitters come in? You know, like it's harder and harder to explain their absence. Rob says, real question is Zendaya in any of these? I would doubt it. And I love Zendaya. Zendaya, I want other things for her. She's in Spider-Man 4. Obed says, do you think these next two Avengers movies will be the last big movies for Marvel? What would be the next big thing for them? X-Men. Kevin Feige did say next would be X-Men. Oh, please don't mess up the X-Men. I'm so scared. I'm so scared. C. Black says, I think Tony Stark is a variant of Doom. I would find that very annoying, but it's potentially possible. Thank you, Stephen Carrier. And Adam Sphere says, will Doom have powers as a Tony variant? He could be totally Doom. He could have Doom's abilities. He could have Doom's magic background because he comes from a gypsy background. Doom is both science and magic, which again I think is why they're partially using Tony Stark, because now it's Tony Stark, but also he can do that. Robert Downey Jr. He's like, I want to do Doctor Strange magic. So that's the whole point of it. But I think that he's just going to be a variant who is Doom in this universe. This entity is not called Tony Stark, but is called Doom. Little Baby Pizza says, how can Tony Stark culturally be Doctor Doom? I don't know what you mean by that. I don't know. Talk to Marvel about it. That's true, Usman. Both Wanda and Doom are supposed to be from the same part of the world, Romania. They're supposed to be Romani. Sims, I thought Cillian Murphy was good casting for Doom. I liked the idea of Michael Fassbender. They had some good options. Although they're running out of actors. There's so many comic book movies. There's not that many people left who haven't been in a comic book movie already. And I think that makes it difficult. That's why I guess you got to find a new actor. And then Randall says, curious question. Do you think Marvel Disney could bring back the cast of New Mutants? I don't think they're going to do it. Maybe in Secret Wars, but they don't need to, you know? Jordan, I'm glad you got a membership. That's really great. All right, I think we're ready for the next story. I think you guys are ready for the next story. All right. So, story number 3. I like this one a lot because I was a roller coaster of emotion on this one. Boom, baby. Oh, I'm covering up that little werewolf a little bit. There we go. All right, Robert Eggers. We were wondering what he was going to do next. He's riding high. Look at this spelling of werewolf. Oh, Robert Eggers, you do you. I love it. All right, so Nosferatu continues to do extremely well, particularly for a film from Focus Features and from Robert Eggers. It just went on digital starting yesterday. I can't get the #1 spot because Sonic, of course, is a family film, but it is number 2. Right after, it was able to surpass Wicked, although, of course, Wicked's been out for a couple of weeks now. But yeah, so it's really high up there. Good for Universal. They got 2 of the movies up there. That's huge. So he's got that Nosferatu capital, and he intends to spend it. And in fact, he's developing a relationship with Focus Features. And he announced today that he's going to stay with the studio. They distributed and produced his Nosferatu. And this movie will come out Christmas Day, just like Nosferatu did, in 2026. So that's very exciting. Robert Eggers can work fast because, Nosferatu was expensive for him, but it was just a $50 million budget. And so he can certainly deliver by Christmas of next year, 2026. So basically about 2 years from now. So this project is very, very interesting. Now, I had said in Movie Math that he was in a fork in the road. He could continue to make the sorts of movies that he does, or he could maybe become the next Christopher Nolan and Denis Villeneuve. When I first heard about this project, I thought that he'd blinked and that he wasn't going to try and be like Nolan and Villeneuve, and I was disappointed. But the more I think about the project, and I'm going to take you through my thought process, I think there's still a chance. It's not as strong a move in that direction as I would have liked for him, but I have to respect his artistic credibility and what he wants to do with his career. If he's happy making movies at this level for the rest of his life, and he has his fans and he has a good life, well, then who can have a problem with that, right? Not everybody wants to climb to the top of the mountain. Some people say, I like where I am, and they just stop. All right, so, of course, as some of you are saying, Universal. Well, he is like Gareth Edwards to a degree, but Gareth Edwards is a big IP guy. Godzilla, Star Wars, now he's doing Jurassic. Robert Eggers has not moved into franchise filmmaking, but he's kind of making his own franchise, maybe? Let's discuss. So Universal Monsters, of course, are a huge brand for Universal. From day one, these movies were getting made in the 1920s and 30s. And in fact, if you watch some of them, James Whale was the director who was, I think Gods and Monsters, what was it? It was the Ian McKellen movie. Very famous director. He was an openly gay man in the very early days of Hollywood, and a very successful and a very highly, Gods and Monsters, thank you, very highly esteemed director. And if you go back and you watch his movies, like Frankenstein, you'll be very impressed with his ability. Very, very strong filmmaking. And Universal Monsters are about to explode in an even bigger way because, of course, Epic Universe opens this May, and it will have a dark universe land where they are going to take you back to the world of Universal Monsters, and they're going to have a flaming windmill, and they're going to have a great dark ride, like a high energy e-ticket ride. It's going to be a very, very big deal. So now for a while there, Lee Whannell was taking over this for them. Lee Whannell, of course, comes from the world of James Wan. He was his writing partner, and he starred or co-starred in the Saw movies. They went on to do the Insidious films, etc. And then Lee Whannell kind of broke off on his own. He did Upgrade, which I loved. And after Upgrade, he got The Invisible Man, which did, The Mummy. He took over because The Mummy had not worked. This was their other attempt to reboot their Monsters line, and it was a huge disaster. That's right, Lloyd. There's going to be a werewolf roller coaster, which has a fair theme to it. I'll be interested to see if that's reflected in this movie. That would be interesting, but it's like a more modern fair, so I don't think that it's going to be the same. Because wait till you hear what the setup is. All right, so this didn't work out. So Lee Whannell did The Invisible Man, which was not bad. But then I think he went too far with Wolfman, which just, it's just not enough. It's not enough. And people have not been happy, and the box office for Wolfman is quite poor. So you might be like, was this competing with those movies? But don't forget that this is the same. Oh, I haven't moved the arrow. This is the same studio. Universal owns Focus Features. So these are still Universal monster movies. They're just under their art house label. All right, so what is this movie going to be about? All right, let's talk about it. So it was announced today that it's going to take place in 13th century England, which is medieval England. There you go. And I got a little nervous about this. Originally, he wanted to film it in black and white, but Focus talked him out of it. But the other thing that I think makes me very nervous as an executive, if I were an executive, is that he's insisting on doing it in Old English. I'm like, Robert, do you just not like money? Are you killing me with you're just killing me with this? He wants to do Old English, where they speak like they would in medieval England. And I'm like, oh, like Shakespeare? Oh my God, man. Oh my God. Like, I don't know. I'm sure that there are Robert Eggers fans who would be like, oh my God, it's genius. You're brilliant. But I'd be like, the whole thing about Nosferatu is that Nosferatu, you know, was able to jump beyond, you know, Robert Eggers' fan base and get casuals in there. This reminds me, in fact, of some of the choices that he made for The Northman. I liked The Northman, but it was too authentic. You know, they were showing you how people went to the bathroom and stuff like that. And you were like, I don't need to know about that. That's fine. And wouldn't the Wolfman go to the bathroom outside? Why are we even discussing this, Robert? So The Northman was a very good movie, but it didn't do particularly good box office. Here's Robert Eggers' box office. You can see that Nosferatu, far and away the biggest hit that he's had, and the fact that the budget's so low is while he's getting a new one. And then The Northman did okay. The Northman, it did all right, but not great. It was an improvement. And you can see that The Lighthouse, shot in black and white, did not do particularly well, although it really did a lot for Robert Pattinson's career. And then The Witch, you know, not great either. But still, I'd be like, your instincts are interesting, and they've certainly amassed you a fan base, and I wouldn't totally abandon them, but I wouldn't backslide either, Robert. Like, things are starting to work. But then I had myself an epiphany. So I was looking at these pictures, and I was like, oh, medieval England. All right, I was just in England. It was pretty interesting. I was enjoying. It was so interesting. There's a comedian who made a joke about when you go to Europe, they point at something and they go, that's from the year 8. And like, as Americans, we just can't process that. We're like, the year 8? Isn't it 2025 or 24? So I always liked that joke. And when I was at the Tower of London, not only were they telling us these incredible stories about Henry VIII and, Elizabeth and all the succession stuff that was going on, but just casually, the guy giving the tour pointed over to the side and said, that's where Isaac Newton's apartment was when he was the head of like the science minister or something. And you're like, Isaac Newton lived over there? Let me take a photo with my phone. But, it was really incredible. But, I think medieval England is certainly an interesting place, and I think, while it feels very distant, I think it could be made accessible if you really kind of dive into it. Then what else occurred to me was, you know what else takes place in medieval ages? Sleeping Beauty, my favorite of the Disney princess movies. I love me some Sleeping Beauty. And you might recall that in the beginning, they have this lovely medieval text, illustrated text about, with Ivan Earl imagery. And it was just incredible. And I love Sleeping Beauty. I'll try and watch it at least once a year. Mr. Magic, I'm glad you're a fan as well. I just think it's absolutely phenomenal. I think it's just great. So if they could kind of add like a Sleeping Beauty type feel to this, because I think a big part of why Nosferatu was so successful, I forgot to load the poster, was that it's a very sexy movie. Nosferatu is a very sexy movie. The Northman is a little bit to a degree, but it deals with like taboo subjects that are hard to get. It's got it's not like Nosferatu. And so I'd be like, well, what's the female character in your Werwulf movie, right? And it's like, is it a medieval princess? If you give me a medieval princess, she's going to wear a Sleeping Beauty style gown. Maybe we can work something out here. So I think it depends. Like, I'd be interested to see, as Werewolf starts to come together, what are the lessons that Robert Eggers, if any, learned from Nosferatu? Does he understand why his movie was successful? Not everybody always understands why their movie is successful. Sometimes they go, oh, people finally get me. And you're like, no, because you changed. So do you understand how you changed? And, you were able to bring along your fan base still, because you didn't betray your fan base, but you became more commercial. Whether he likes it or not, Nosferatu is a far more commercial film than any of the other movies that he made. So I'll be curious to see what he does. But yeah, I think that if you can give me my Sleeping Beauty aesthetic in here, suddenly maybe it's a really good idea. Is he creating his own Universal? Let's see here. Is he creating his own Universal Monsters universe? That's a tough call. I'm not sure if he is. This is the 13th century. You know, the year 1200. And Nosferatu, I think, is, what century is that? Hold on. Look at Robert Eggers making us learn history. Nosferatu 2024. 1830s. So 600 years later. That's quite a long time. But yet, I'm sure the curse of the werewolf does not go away. So it's like an origin story. So you could do, but I mean, I don't know if Robert Eggers would want to even do that. Maybe Robert Eggers just wants to make a bunch of monster movies. Who's left? Let's get our arrow. I'm going to play the executive that makes Robert Eggers really angry. All right, Robert, you've done Dracula. Now you're going to do the Wolfman. The Mummy? I think Robert Eggers doing the Invisible Man would be amazing. I'd be like, man, Dr. Jekyll. Oh, that's it. That's it. That's it. I picked your next one after this, Robert. Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. I mean, I'll see all these movies as long as he continues. I was going to say Bride of Frankenstein, Zeke, but Warner Brothers for Maggie Gyllenhaal has a Bride of Frankenstein movie coming out this year. And so that might be a little bit hard to visit for a while. But oh yeah, Robert Pattinson as Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde would be great. I think it's great. I mean, if they're all made in the vein of Nosferatu, I'll watch all of them. And I hope this works. I mean, he's kind of playing ball. You know, he didn't go off in a totally different direction. He's making Christmas horror movies, and that's not a bad life. That's not a bad life. All right, does anybody have any questions or comments about this story before we move on to the Q&A? Brody Rule says that he wants to make a Western. Robert Eggers said he'd like to make a Western. I don't know. I'd tell him not to do it. Westerns don't do particularly well. Just ask poor Kevin Costner. The House of Over says, wouldn't Eggers do right? Oh yeah, I've been saying Robert Eggers for League of Extraordinary Gentlemen. I've been beating that drum since I saw Nosferatu. I think he'd do a wonderful job with that. Oh, thanks, Sean. I'm glad you're having a nice Wednesday evening. I mean, I think he should do League of Extraordinary Gentlemen. I think it's a great idea. I think it would do extremely well, and I think he would enjoy it. iReady says he should keep the fairy tale storybook quality that Nosferatu has. Yes, exactly. That's why I'm saying the Sleeping Beauty angle. Nosferatu, I hope he understands that Nosferatu feels like a fairy tale. It feels like Charles Dickens' A Christmas Carol. That's why it works so well coming out at Christmas. It had a Christmas tree in it. Oh, Sean, you are having a great night. Thank you, Sean. You know, I hope that he understands that that element was a big part of why it was so successful. That's right, I Don't Care Bear. It was very much a slice of Gothic wedding cake. And it was delicious. Oh, Kyle says, why not bring the Little Red Riding Hood element in here for the big bad wolf? I don't know. I worry about the connotations of what Little Red Riding Hood's actually about. You know, in terms of predatory behavior. Rob McDoodle says, I doubt he'd do it, but the Jekyll and Hyde musical is incredible with dark. I don't think he'd do a musical. I mean, never say never. But I think he'd be great for these. And I think he might have found his happy place. Josh Loves Movies says, I hope Nosferatu gets some nominations. I think it will definitely get some nominations tomorrow, but I think they'll be almost all in the craft category. I'd be amazed if it gets a nomination outside of the craft categories. But that's okay. That's a huge step forward for Robert Eggers. But I think I would expect to see it in production design, cinematography, and costume design. All right, I think we're ready for the next story. For the Q&A. All right, hold on. Ready? Let me get rid of these other images. Q&A. Here we go, baby. All right, 10 minutes. It's 7:06. You can ask me anything you like until 7:16. And then I will see you tomorrow for the Oscars live stream. Kyle Selby says Count Orlok was incredibly predatory. He sure was. I talked about that. I had a big issue with how they handled consent in that movie. But no one else seemed to care. So, all right, whatever. MM92 says, hi, Grace. I'm curious, what would your honest advice to Todd Phillips be in moving forward post-Joker 2 to take a very, very long break? And maybe explain what he was thinking. I don't know. I don't know if he can ever come back from that. It was so bad. So I hope he saved his money. Mando's Music says, so happy to be able to watch a live stream. Oh, happy birthday! Happy birthday! Fire Thunder Gaming says, do you think Pedro Pascal will portray Reed Richards as being autistic? Because some people suspect the character is in the comics. That's very tricky. I don't know if I would do that. I don't know. I think that's very hard to do. And I don't know if Marvel's not that, doesn't make those kind of movies. DC would maybe explore something like that. But Marvel that's not the kind of movies that they make. Matt Stone, thank you. That's very generous of you. Thank you very much. I appreciate all the nice comments about my hair. I thought it was a little out of control. So the fact that you guys think it looks good makes me very happy. Thank you. Marnique, I did see the Mickey 17 trailer. I still don't think it's going to make any money, but I think it's going to be a really nice movie for Robert Pattinson's career. For his, I think it's going to keep winning him fans. Oh, Georgie Porgy, I'm so glad you liked my Marvel Rivals video. And yeah, I think Jeff the Land Shark, I think you'll see him in the MCU at some point. I think Ryan Reynolds will not miss that. Lloyd Lester says, Grace, should Todd Phillips have taken another DC character after Joker? No, Lloyd. Todd Phillips should go away. Greg Lazar says, what do you think Patty Jenkins could do to get back on track? I don't know. I think it'd be very difficult for her at this point. I don't know. And she keeps working with Jeff Johns. I think it would be very difficult. Elliot, that's great that White Lotus just got renewed. Season 3 is coming up fast. I'm very excited about it. Adam Sphere, I've never surfed. I'm not a fan of the ocean. It's got stuff in it. There's stuff in that water. There's stuff in the water. There's stuff in the sand that's at the bottom of the water. No, I'm not interested. Mr. Magic, thank you for saying like and subscribe. The last time I was on the beach freaked me out because you could just look into nothingness. I was in Los Angeles and I was like, don't like that. So I looked out at the horizon and that was depressing. And then I stepped on a bee. So I'm not a beach person. I don't like it. I told you, me and nature are not friends. Sahib says, Grace, what are your thoughts on the Asterix and Thunderbolts? I'm not sure. I'm sure it's going to be funny. I think it is talking about, like it's just a placeholder. They're not sure if they're going to stick around. I'll be curious to see if Marvel actually has the guts to kill anybody off. Like Suicide Squad. Not everybody makes it to the end. But let's see if they actually do that with Thunderbolts. Although that's never been a Thunderbolts thing. It's always been villains, but they're not really going with that. These are like kind of villainy characters. Oh, hey, Seuss. Thanks for asking how I'm doing. That's very kind of you to ask. I'm doing good. Thank you. I'm feeling much better. Chico, I'm not watching Yellow Jackets anymore. Season 2 was so bad, I'm done. Sahib, I'd love it to be Dark Avengers, but they didn't do it the correct workup. Edgar, look, Edgar got a membership. Hooray, huzzah. That's right, Bobby. These are C-list characters. They should have no problem. I'd be like, come on. I wouldn't kill Yelena Belova off for Bucky, but Sarah, I think The Social Network is a great movie and becoming even more timely. Michael Riviera says, does Kristen Milioti have any chance of winning the SAG for Penguin? She sure doesn't, but I think it's amazing for her to be nominated. And I think that helps maybe get a season 2. And it certainly helps her get more work. So, it's a big win for her. Hey, Gunnar, welcome. Jonah says, Ms. Randolph, thank you. Would you ever consider reviewing the new season of Spartacus on the Stars channel? Probably not. I reviewed Severance and, maybe the spoiler review will do better. But, there just isn't a big community talking about that online. Brody, I'm not going to watch Skeleton Crew. It doesn't seem to have an impact on the rest of Star Wars. I'm not interested in it. And I have other things, I'm already moving ahead. I got my Invincible screeners today. I'm watching Invincible. And Real Housewives of Beverly Hills, which I forgot to watch yesterday. I saw it trending on Twitter, and I was like, oh my God, I forgot to watch this episode, especially because Kyle's going to finally get some karma. Yay, Gunner says, thoughts on John Bernthal being cast in The Odyssey. I thought it was hilarious because I just said he doesn't work that much. And I helped him. I guess I put positivity into the air. And now suddenly he's getting cast in big stuff. That's great for him. I'm very happy for him. I like John Bernthal. The Great Adventure says, hi, Grace. I'm watching with my boyfriend, Mason. Hello, Mason. And we were wondering if you have any tea on what might happen with Sandman Season 2. I haven't heard anything, but with the, you're curious about what the Neil Gaiman scandal, what the fallout might be. I think all Neil Gaiman projects will probably be canceled or shelved for the indefinite future, and I would be surprised if they ever came back. It's so bad. Marcus says, are you making a Razzie reaction video? I almost concluded the Razzies in this video, and I was so happy that I didn't have to because I went with the Doctor Strange story instead. I think that the Razzies were too mean. I feel like I thought the nominations were fair, but the way they explained some of the categories and the nominations, I just thought was really mean. I was like, way to hit somebody when they're down. Brandon says, I know you're a Steelers fan, but is there a team you're rooting for this year? I'm going to watch the football game on Sunday night because I don't watch the Super Bowl because I'm covering the trailers. So the playoff games are the ones that I watch to get my Super Bowl momentum. So I'm going to watch the evening game, and I'm very happy with the lineup. I know it's like the Chiefs versus the Bills. What a lineup. I'm very excited about it. I like Patrick Mahomes. I have mixed feelings on Travis Kelce. I think he's the gold digger. I'm like, Taylor, he ain't interested in anybody who's broke. Let's see. But yes, would that really be Taylor Swift's versus Haley Steinfeld's? That's hilarious. I'm looking forward to that game. I think it's going to be a great game. I'm getting more into football. I enjoyed watching the Steelers versus the Ravens. I was learning about the players. Okay, I got 2 more minutes here. Edgar, I'm not reviewing Castlevania. Chico says, what are your thoughts on Snow White's lack of marketing? I think they know they have an issue, and I think they're trying to just keep quiet. It's a little early. It's a little early still. They have some time. Maybe they'll have a Super Bowl spot. Again, let's see if the Chiefs go. I think if the Chiefs go, you're going to see spots that would appeal to Taylor Swift fans. Like they did a Wicked trailer last year for the Super Bowl, remember? Maybe we'll get another Wicked trailer. It was insanely early, but it worked. African Children Media. Oh, the Brutalist is long, but it has the intermission. Did you enjoy the intermission? Sean, another membership. Sean, I really appreciate these memberships. I mean, thank you for spending your party evening with us. Let's see. Jillian says, strange that the Oscars aren't having performances this year. That's right, Jillian. They announced they will not be performing the Best Song nominees this year to focus more on the songwriters who are the ones who are actually nominated. Although the rumor is that there's such controversy over the Amelia Perez songs that they don't want to perform them live during the show. My feeling is that I do not like except for I'm Just Ken, which was a lot of fun. I think it takes up too much time out of the show for songs that, quite frankly, for the most, with a couple of exceptions, Defying Gravity, yeah. Thank you, Heather. That's very generous of you. But I think the issue is that, that's right. I think that I'd rather have songs that people are excited about. I'd rather free up time in the ceremony for other things to happen. More comedy sketches, more bits, maybe another musical performance like Defying Gravity. I really feel like this is a change I am definitely behind. Even if there weren't any controversy over the Amelia Perez numbers. All right, it's 7:16. I got to get going because I got to make sure I'm up early tomorrow for the Oscars. Remember, the live stream to cover the Oscars will be around between 11 a.m. and 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And you'll get, if you're subscribed, and if you're subscribed and you have notifications turned on, you will get a 30-minute heads up for when the live stream is going to start. And I, of course, will also tweet it, so you can follow me on Twitter as well. All right, everybody, see you tomorrow. Bye-bye. One sleep till Oscar noms. Okay, bye-bye. Bye-bye.